back to the Six Rings podcast family for another prospect preview podcast with our friend Chris Scheim. I am Andy Jumbo Hart, and today we are going to jump into another big need for the Patriots, exciting potential top half of the draft need for the Patriots, and maybe even the 14th overall pick. We are talking cornerbacks because, Chris, Scheim time, Scheim, the Patriots do not necessarily, or maybe they do. Maybe we can have a little quick discussion here about the Patriots cornerback depth chart. A year ago, they let J.C. Jackson walk. That was after they had traded away Stephon Gilmore. They went from having two Pro Bowl number one cornerbacks to, what do we have? Jalen Mills was the de facto number one cornerback for a year plus-ish. Then last year, we had Jonathan Jones move to the outside. We had Jack Jones come in as a mid-round rookie, have a nice rookie season, but then he's suspended late in the year. Jonathan Jones re-signs. Jack Jones is no longer suspended. Bill Belichick said at the owners' meetings, that's done, that's over with. So where do you put the need for a cornerback? A, do they have a number one cornerback, or do they flat out have to find a number one cornerback sooner rather than later?
So I think they believe that they have their number one cornerback in Jonathan Jones. And I think Jonathan Jones is a good corner, but he's not like a legit number one, not your normal Bill Belichick number one corner, right? You look back at his history, he's always had one, whether it was Ty Law, Aqib Talib, Asante Samuel, Darrelle Revis, Stephon Gilmore, Malcolm Butler, J.C. Jackson. You can go through them all. He had one, and he designated them as such. As of right now, I believe they think Jonathan Jones is their number one. I don't think that he's, I mean, out of all those guys I just named, he's probably at the bottom of that list. It's really hard to. He's closest to maybe like Malcolm Butler, maybe, but being generous. And so I do think it's a position of need. I think they have. It's weird. They don't have any great talent at that position. Like it's not like a bountiful position, but I think there's some depth there, right? I think between Jonathan Jones, you brought back Jalen Mills, but he'll probably play a lot more safety this year, even though you could probably kind of use him at corner. I hate Miles Bryant. I don't know why he's still on this team. They RFA tendered him. He's still going to be on this team. He stinks. I think they should ship him out of here as fast as possible. Marcus Jones is reportedly going to be playing more corner, I believe, this year, probably maybe a little bit less offensive weaponry, more cornerback. I know he said that he is a cornerback. And then Jack Jones has shown some promise in spots, but I think you need a tone setter. I think you need a number one guy. For me, cornerback should absolutely be in play at 14. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's one of my top three needs. If I'm a New England Patriot, if I'm in that front office, that this is one of the positions of need that I want to address at some point in this draft. And we can get to it, but this draft is deep at corner. So I don't expect them to go corner at 14 just because I think Belichick is going to look at it and be like, well, I have this guy similarly ranked. I can get him day 2. Why splurge on Joey Porter Jr. at 14 when I can wait and get another guy here in the second round and then take a different position in the first round?
So I absolutely think corner is their biggest need. And I think there are some names on the depth chart, but as you mentioned, Jalen Mills, first of all, should be a safety, should be a sort of chess piece in the back end, should not be a number one corner, miscast. Jonathan Jones should be a slot corner. He's absolutely miscast if you believe him to be your number one 100%. Corner. Plus, he's north of 30. Plus, I don't know, go put the tape in of the Bengals game and watch a number one receiver named T. Higgins bitch slap him and treat him like a child on the playground.
And that wasn't even Jamar Chase.
No.
T. Higgins.
Unless you are all in on Jack Jones, 100% sold that Jack Jones is going to develop into an elite corner, which I don't really know how you could be at this point. To me, this is their biggest need. I think they need to go get that corner that you were talking about. Now, the two things that would argue against taking a corner at 14, which I am very much open to. Very much open to if a couple guys are on the board, considering them. But the argument against it is twofold, and you sort of articulated them loosely. One, there's a ton of corners in this draft. You're going to get
a crap ton,
good talent in day 2, maybe even early day 3, potentially starting caliber cornerbacks. I think Mel Kiper has it somewhere north of 30 NFL cornerbacks in this draft. Yep. And then the other argument, or sort of an argument that coincides with that one, is a lot of the names you mentioned as the number one corners Belichick has had over the years are not high picks, are guys that he had developed from the mid rounds, guys that he developed from undrafted. Little bit in there, he went and got a couple in Darrell Revis and Aqib Talib and some of those guys, but the only real number one first round corner they took was Devin McCourty, and he was only a corner for 1 year before he had to move to safety because he stunk at corner. So I let's put that to the side though, because I do want to talk about with some passion the top of the draft and the top corners in the draft. And I'm going to tell you right out the gates, I have two that I think I would have on my board at 14.
I have three.
Okay. So my number one corner is Christian Gonzalez. I think he's awesome. I think he is an absolute stud in the making. 6'2", 200. So 6'2", you go, 6'2". Little taller than the typical Patriots corner. Like it. That's also why he's more valuable near the top of the draft. But he is a guy, Colorado, then transferred to Oregon, wore number 0. If you see any highlights of a guy wearing number 0 in the many different Oregon jerseys, that's Christian Gonzalez. 4 picks last year. I think he has the total package. I think he has the size. I think he has the quickness and the speed. He just looks like a true number 1 NFL cornerback to me. Like, look, they say looks the part. Yes. I see Christian Gonzalez. I say he looks the part, and I could see him being coached up into the part in New England.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to tell you that there is a Sauce Gardner in this draft. I don't believe that. I do believe, though, that Christian Gonzalez is the best corner in this draft, and I think he's really, really good. He's different. He's probably better in zone coverage than I think he is in man, because he is so freaking athletic, man. This kid can fly. He runs like a 4.38 40. He has like Olympic track quickness. Like, he is that good. And so I think zone coverage really kind of plays to his strengths better than man coverage, which is why I actually don't think he would be number 1 on Bill Belichick's draft board. He is absolutely number 1 on my draft board if I am just building a team, but I don't believe he's number 1 on Bill Belichick's draft board.
That's probably fair. Another thing I would say is he has the measurables. He also seems to have the instincts, and that would make him a good zone corner, as you alluded to. I also am not really sure what the Patriots are anymore. They were traditionally a man coverage team. I don't know. This would be a bigger picture question that I don't know the answer to as the trends develop in college football defensively. Where is that going in terms of talent? How does that affect the Patriots and all of that? But I like Christian Gonzalez. I would very much consider taking him.
If he is at 14, I think you should consider yourself lucky to be able to take him at 14.
I'm not sure he will be. I think I saw one today where he's going in the middle of the top 10 to somebody, maybe the Colts in there somewhere. So like that. So his stock seems to be very high and maybe only rising as we get to draft weekend. My other draftable cornerback at number 14 overall for the Patriots would be Devon Witherspoon from Illinois.
Yes, bingo. This is the guy I believe would be number 1 on Belichick's board.
Electric, physical, kind of has a little tweener safety look to him, loves to hit, loves to be explosive. So I love watching him play. He's a 4-year player for them. And remember who coaches at Illinois right now? Brett Bielema. So there could be a little
I didn't even get that connection.
I won't call it a pipeline prospect because he just got there recently, and Witherspoon's actually been there a couple of years. But
but it's like that Saban connection. It's
connection,
the same thing. Yeah.
And even better because, I mean, Bielema's 2 years away from having been on Bill Belichick's staff, like the modern Steve Belichick, Gerard Mayo defense. He was in those meeting rooms as they look at a guy like Devon Witherspoon.
I never put those 2 dots together. So well done.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
2 minds is better than 1. That's what they say.
Always.
See, if it had been just you would have just done a podcast. You wouldn't have mentioned Brett Bielema. He's an All-American. He closes like, I don't know who I want to compare. I don't want to say Troy Polamalu. I think that's like the actual like Hall of Fame epitome of a rocket that closes. But run or pass, Witherspoon is closing. Like, I would be scared to death. Like, head on a swivel with this dude. If you throw me the ball as a quarterback, it better be timely. It better put me in position to run for my life because this jackass is coming to kill me and knock my head off.
Yeah, this guy is awesome. He is so physical. And I think that's one of the things that would be attractive to the Patriots about him is that he is not afraid to come down and play in the run. Like, he will come down and he will hit. And he is not afraid. He's not going to be afraid of a guy like Derrick Henry or Najee Harris or any running back or Jonathan Taylor. He's going to come up and he's going to fight with you and he's going to hit you in the trenches. And I think Belichick would relish. I think the front office in general, Matt Groh and his people would relish that because that's something that I don't think you really have on this team. You don't have a especially at corner, you don't have a tone setter. Like this guy is a
Right.
tone setter. He is going to be physical. He's going to be aggressive. And if you get back to Belichick's roots of playing man coverage, he's probably the best one suited to play like pure man on defense. Whereas Gonzalez, like I said, I think his strengths are a little bit more zone. I think Witherspoon he's sticky in man, and he's physical, and he's fast. And so those three things, I mean, those can be disruptors massively in the NFL game.
Okay, so there's two names we like. There's another name I don't love, and it's a name that's a famous name. It's been actually mocked to the Patriots starting a couple months ago. I feel like this was a really
Yeah. Oh,
popular
yeah.
early mock, and that's Penn State's Joey Porter Jr. Yes, that Joey Porter,
Yep.
Pittsburgh Steeler.
1999 out of what, Colorado, I think it was. Joey Porter.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Either Colorado or Colorado State. I forget.
Might be Colorado back when they were cheating with Christian Fourier and Cordell Stewart and all those people. Joey Porter, 4-year player for Penn State. I'm looking at my measurables. I don't know if I updated him, about 6'2", 200. So he's got some good size.
Yep.
He's fine. Like, I think he's a solid corner. I just don't think he's a consideration in the top half of the first round. And I don't know for sure he's going to be a number one NFL cornerback. That's my concern.
So I kind of get Antonio Cromartie vibes from him. So like really good NFL corner that could probably have like a 10+ year career, but may not necessarily be your like stud number one. Like he was a number one on those Chargers teams, but he was never going to be, he's never going to be like a Aqib Talib or Asante Samuel or any of those guys. So I think Joey Porter is really, really good. I think he's really talented. I think he's probably better than anything you have on this roster right now. I would consider taking him at 14. I think he's pretty damn good. He would be a good building block. And the thing that I love the most is the length, man. Those arms, like he could bear hug a friggin' fire truck. Like he has such long arms, and he just envelops receivers with those things. Like, and it makes it so easy for him. And I think at times he needs to get better about this, but it allows him to kind of freewheel a little bit when the ball's in the air. It's almost like sometimes he can be a little lazy because he knows he can get those arms up anywhere. And if he is more committed to his coverage, I think this kid could be unstoppable at times.
Ooh, unstoppable, says Chris Scheim. Couple questions here. First of all, his quickness to me, he's got speed. Sometimes his lateral quickness looks like it's in question to me.
Yep. I'm with you.
And then the other thing I want to ask is more of a philosophical thing that I always write down, but I don't know what I really care about. He had one interception. And it's one of those production things. And it's like, because there's some other guys in this class that are ball hawks that just find their way around the football, end up with multiple picks per year and over their career. Do you take that into account at all when you're assessing cornerback play at the college level?
Yeah, I do. Like, I think it matters. But at the same time, when you look at interceptions for cornerbacks in general across college football and the NFL, what, 50% of it is luck sometimes, right? It's just about being in the right position. It's about watching and having your eyes on the quarterback and not necessarily on your receiver, and being able to play just kind of where the ball's going. It's sometimes it's an instinctual thing, right? And I think the way Joey Porter Jr. plays, it's very similar. It's like if you combined Antonio Cromartie, like the body almost of Antonio Cromartie, with Xavier Howard on the Miami Dolphins, where there's been a couple times where Howard just has like no interceptions in a season, but everybody recognizes how good of a cornerback he is, but he is like a legit number one corner in the NFL. And so I think there's times reporters like that where I just think he is enveloped in who he is covering, and it's not necessarily a focus on the quarterback. And so for him, it's more physicality and pass breakup than it is attacking the ball. And I think that's something that he can adjust to. Like, I think that's something that he can get better at.
So these are the top three corners. As you mentioned, unlikely they're going to be as good as Sauce Gardner, because Sauce Gardner came in as a rookie and is one
Might
of
be the best corner in the league.
Right, in the NFL. But if they're taken in the first round, top half of the first round, they're going to be expected to be true number one corners. Now, my guess is they won't be. That just law of averages, the way the draft works, not all three of these guys will be true number one corners. If you could have just one, who do you think? And obviously some of it is where you land, coaching, different aspects, opportunity. But if you were all in, I can only have just one, who am I taking?
Yeah, I want Christian Gonzalez. I just
Me
think
too.
he has the best all-around game, the speed, the size, the quickness, the instincts. He has everything. And I just think he is the best one. And that is, if I had the opportunity at 14 to draft any of the three, that's absolutely the guy I would go with.
Okay, so we got to talk about a guy. So I'm not saying this is next in line. We might get into Deontay Banks from Maryland, who I think is in
Yes,
the
I would like to.
conversation. But I need to talk about Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State.
Yes, we do.
So I would call him the anti Joey Porter in terms of production. Dude just ends up with the ball, but also just a very strange makeup at 6'1".
Yep.
I believe this is right. 166 pounds.
That is correct. Andy, this is the first time a corner, I believe, has weighed in at that size since like 1996 or something.
All right. So what do we make of it? Because he's good.
It's tough. It's an anomaly, man. Like I agree with you. He's talented. He has really good instincts. He's fast. He's long. But oh man, he could get bullied by guys like Davante Adams would eat him for lunch. I feel like just physically at the line of scrimmage. I don't know how he keeps up with NFL wide receivers. It's not, I guess keep up is the wrong word, because I think he would need to play a lot like, it's hard. It's that that classic San Francisco or Seattle zone style defense. I think he would thrive in, because I don't think he needs to be pressed at the line of scrimmage a lot. But the issue is teams that are going to get the ball to the receivers quick. Teams like Kansas City would just, I think, destroy him.
So I just want to point out, he is not afraid. He
No,
doesn't
by
play
no
like
means.
he's afraid to get hurt. He sticks his nose in there. He's around the ball. I mentioned he had 14 interceptions in his career, 6 touchdowns. I think he had 3 touchdowns last year, All-American. The production is without question. But that number, 160, like,
it's terrifying.
That's ridiculous.
It is terrifying. And so for me, a team that I think makes sense for a guy like this is a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, where it's like, all right, I have Darius Slay and James Bradbury. I don't need a top end corner, but I need a third corner. I need like a nickel corner. I can take a shot on this guy. And where he's not drawing, Jamar Chase, Davante Adams, Justin Jefferson, and he's drawing instead, the Khalif Raymonds of the world. That's where I feel like he could at least start to have success, and NFL teams would put weight on this guy in an instant. Like, you could get him by the end of his rookie year. He'll probably be a 180 plus.
And he has some speed to quote unquote lose if he loses it. I mean, he ran a 4.340. So
yeah, kid flies. So like, that's my thing. Like, there's room for girthy growth here that NFL teams will know how to properly put on.
Excuse me.
Yes, not height growth, girth growth. And I think NFL teams will properly know how to do that. But from the onset, drafting a guy that weighs 166 pounds is A, unheard of, and B, terrifying.
I also think he could be good. I think he could, like a team like that, that drafts him to just be one of the corners in our corner room kind of thing, could then find out like, oh yeah, he's one of the corners in our corner room, one of the best corners in our corner room. Like I think,
2-3 years from now, you could be like, all right, bye Darius Slay, we have Emmanuel Forbes, and, and like that's the kind of mentality you could have with him.
Okay, you get to bring up the next name. Who's the next name on the Shime Time list of names?
Yeah, the next name I want to bring up is Keely Ringo out of Georgia.
Okay.
Another guy that I think the Patriots could have some interest in. Ringo's weird in that you've seen him mocked in all different kind of positions. I think lately the trend is he doesn't even go in the first round, which if you're a Patriots fan should be kind of exciting, because I think there's a good chance if he's around day 2 that the Patriots make a move to try and get him on this team. Like, if he lasts into pick, what will that be, 41? I wouldn't be shocked if Belichick tries to jump up 4 or 5 spots and grab this kid after going a different position in the first round. I think Keely Ringo has a lot of potential. I think he's very raw, right? Like, I think he has the size, 6'2", 207. He is a big boy, 4'3", 640 though. So this kid can still move. He's unbelievably athletic. Like, he is cut out of stone. Like, he is like an Adonis. This is good. This is a good, like, athletic profile for a corner, but he has some work that needs to be done. And I think with a coach like Bill Belichick in a system that has been good for corners over the years. I mean, you've seen homegrown guys like Malcolm Butler and JC Jackson and succeed here. I think a guy like Keely Ringo could have a lot of success.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Ringo as you are. He definitely has some impressive attributes, but when I watch him on the highlights and different video, I see bad change of direction. Change of direction seems to be an issue for him, and I wonder is he also gets grabby, which generally comes with bad change of direction. You get caught
Yep.
a little flat foot, and you're like, "Uh-oh," grab something as it goes by, which you can get away with a lot more in college football than you can in the NFL. Those are flags most of the time in the NFL. I just wonder if he's a corner, does he end up being one of those tweener type players that plays a lot of safety or 5-6 DB jobs?
And look, he got destroyed by Marvin Harrison Jr. in that bowl game. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to run away from it. I understand it. But at the same time, I think bowl games are kind of a lot of the times outliers for a lot of these players. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba had 300 yards in a bowl game before. That doesn't make him my number one receiver. So I understand that Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of bullied him a little bit in that bowl game. I recognize that. I understand it, but I don't put a ton of stock in that performance. I prefer to look at a lot of other things as well.
So Cam Smith, South Carolina,
Yep.
6 foot 180-ish. I think a lot of people think is maybe a late first round pick. Who knows? Because I do think the depth versus runs on corners, like who's going to say, well, yeah, there's a lot of corners in this draft, but there's only X number ones or X good corners, and sort of where that break is, and then you take a jump to the second group. He's a ball hawk, 6 career interceptions, 18 passes defense, very aggressive. I think he has pretty good instincts. I like how he breaks on the ball. He's another guy that grabs in the breaks at times, which, again, a lot of people, Ty Law did. He went to the Hall of Fame grabbing. Yep. So, like, I'm not saying exactly that eliminates you. I see Cam Smith as a good, not great corner. I think he's one of those. Upside for him, in my opinion, is probably bad number 1 corner, good number 2 corner in the NFL when it all shakes out. Like, is he the 30th best corner in the league or whatever down there somewhere? But he can play.
Yeah. Like, I think Cam Smith is really good. And I also think it depends on what year of the tape you watch. Like, senior year wasn't quite as good. If you go back to his junior year, he had a QB rating against of 36.5. Like, the kid is really good. That's another thing he has in his pocket is he has played a ton of games. Since his sophomore year, he's played 30 games in college. That's a lot of experience, a lot of time. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that is actually something that jumped out to me, not just for him, but there are a lot of cornerbacks that have played a lot of football, and that I think some of that is COVID and the way the last few years have gone. Because there was a while there that it felt like guys were like red shirt, played a little, played 11 games, and then entered the draft. And you're like, he's only played 15 total games of college
your
football.
Trey Lances, your Anthony Richardsons of the world.
Yeah.
Who have only played like 1 season.
Right. There's a lot more players this year, a lot of cornerbacks who have 3+ years of starting experience, 2+ years of starting experience, which I think is good. I'm a big believer that experience is good. And now some of them, as you mentioned, I think it hinders them. Like a guy that has a really good 2 years ago in the old days, okay, he enters the draft. Now he comes back. Now he's in college for longer. And, oh, yeah, you say you like his experience, but now you're downgrading him because his experience wasn't quite as productive as it was. So I do think there's a little bit more breadth of tape on some of these guys because they've played longer.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he's really good. I think he'll probably end up going in the back half of the first round, if I'm completely honest with you. Like somewhere in that 20 to 31 range makes a lot of sense to me for him. I think he's really talented. I think you nailed it, though, where he is probably a low-end number 1 corner. But, like, if he's your number 2 corner, your defense is probably really good. Or at least your secondary is probably really good. And so I like Cam Smith a lot. I don't think he'll end up a Patriot unless they trade down. But it just because he'll kind of go in that no man's land between their picks. But I do like him. I think he has a lot of potential in the NFL.
How about Clark Phillips III out of Utah, 5'10", 185, a little bit more of a traditionally sized Patriots corner. 2-year plus player, 9 career interceptions, 6 in 2022, All-American. I always love this when I read scouting reports, quote unquote, oily hips, which is always a good thing.
Very different than Cam Smith.
Yes. Tracks, makes some breaks on the ball, has good hands. There's times when you watch him, he has a little bit of that, which I love this, and it is film study and it's instincts, but like run the routes for a guy where you're like, how did it looks like he was the intended receiver on that play. I like him. I think he is in that, 20 to 30 range cornerback as a potential late first round pick. And I think he has upside. I think if he was a little taller, he would be more well thought of, because we start to get into the break here. Wow, 5'10" instead of 6 foot or 6'1", and what does that matter?
Yeah, so I think his size is kind of a big deterrent for me. So I saw 5'9". I know you have 5'10". I saw 5'9".
Nothing wrong with people that are 5'9".
Nope, there's nothing wrong with people that are 5'9", Andy. I agree, but
Marquise Norwell's awesome.
This Marquise Noel is phenomenal. He's also like 5'6". He is definitely not.
Yeah, I know, that's even better.
Which is awesome. But so my issue with Clark Phillips is the third. I think he's good. I don't think he'll go quite as high as you do. To me, this guy is probably late second round.
Oh, I love him then. If they can get Zay Flowers in the first and Clark Phillips in the second, call it a good draft for Andy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think his hips are great. Like, he has really good, hips don't lie. Shakira said. Yeah, he would be on the music video for Hips Don't Lie. His hips flip really well. He's really good at sinking low and doing that. But I'm nervous that he could kind of get bullied. I think he'll get lost in run defense a little bit. I don't know that he would fit exactly the style of corner they have right now, I guess, which is a lot of undersized guys, in my opinion. I don't think the Patriots have one big physical guy. And so if that's the style that Matt Groh is targeting, then I guess Clark Phillips would be the perfect fit. I don't particularly love him. I think he's good. I don't think he'll be much more. I mean, I think you're lucky if he is a high-end number 2. I don't think he is going to be a legitimate playmaker for anybody, really.
Okay.
I think he'll be good, but not like he'll be a guy that bounces around to a bunch of teams because he's good enough, but he's never going to be the guy.
Okay, here's a corner that I don't love, but I have a couple interesting notes about. First of all, I ran a 4.26. His name is DJ Turner, Michigan, and I'm going to give you a pop trivia question here. What does DJ stand for?
I don't know.
You'll never get it then.
Well, there you go for it. Tell me, what does DJ stand for, Andy?
His name is Juan Drago. Yes, if you look at that, that would be JD. But he goes by DJ. Tremendous. I love these little nuggets in the NFL scouting report. Juan Drago Turner goes by DJ.
Oh, my God.
5'11", 178. Considered scheme diverse. As I said, 4.26 is nothing to sniff at. Pretty active, 17 passes defense in his career, 10 of them last year. He's another grabby guy, though. I actually don't think he's a high-end NFL corner prospect. I think he's sort of a depth chart cornerback.
Yeah, I think he could be a low-end number 2, high-end number 3. This is probably a late second round pick again, maybe early third round pick for me. I think he's had pretty good production. I mean, his 2 years, his sophomore, junior year at Michigan, it's, quarterback rating of 54, quarterback rating against of 65. So there's at least some more consistency there compared to a guy like Cam Smith. I like him. I don't love him. I would be happy taking a guy like this in the third round. Second round feels a little rich for my blood.
Yep.
But I think some team, just because I think a lot of teams are looking for corner in this draft, I think he might go in the back half of the second round.
And you run a 4.26, you get noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that'll get you noticed at the cornerback position, and I'm quoting YouTube here, not myself.
Okay.
The next white cornerback, question mark.
Yes.
Riley Moss out of Iowa. He also fulfills what we were talking about earlier. Been at there a long time, played for 5 years, essentially. 6'1", 193 pounds, 4'4", 540. And he's a good college corner. I don't know if he's a good NFL corner. 11 career interceptions, 3 touchdowns, probably more of a zone guy.
Yep.
I have questions about his burst and his recovery ability. Maybe I'm racist. Maybe I'm seeing his skin. I don't know, but I don't see him as the Jason Sehorn of this generation.
Can I pitch something to you? And again, I don't want to pigeonhole him because he's a white guy, but could he make, in my opinion, I think this could be a candidate for, ooh, you don't fit at corner at the NFL level. Let's push you to safety.
Indeed.
And it's the Eric Weddle, the was it Jim Leonard or Brian Leonard, the Jets safety for years? Jim Leonard,
yep.
Or even like I said, like a Devin McCourty type, where it's like, you're just not having a lot of success at corner that I want you to have. Let's push you to safety. And I think he might have some success there, right? Like he might be, I think he could be a very big contributor on special teams. This is a guy that you're going to draft in the 5th, 6th round that could easily come in and be a day one contributor on special teams, and then maybe get some reps at safety and turn into something that could be at least of some production, especially if somebody goes down with an injury.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And as you start to get in the middle rounds, I think that's what you're drafting is like,
yeah, especially
players, versatility. Oh, he can play a little corner, I mean, rich man's Miles Bryant. It wouldn't surprise me if Miles Bryant's more of a safety this year than a corner for the Patriots. You mentioned him earlier, the RFA. Like, they don't have a lot of free safety types, and he could end up in that role. I did want to swing back around. I don't want to shortchange Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Only 2 career interceptions. The bulk of his pass defenses in his career came last year. I see him as a solid player, but nothing spectacular. I think he's a 2nd round type pick. I would not want to see a 1st round pick used on Deonte Banks, but what are your thoughts on him?
So I think he's going to go in the 1st round.
I don't like it.
I think he's going to get drafted by the Washington Commanders, if I had to guess, in the 1st round. And so that's just after the Patriots, probably right around, what is that, 16, 17,
somewhere
I think.
In there, yeah.
I think that probably sounds about right, just because I think they're going to look at it and go, the top 3 corners are off the board. I still really want corner. I'm going to go Deonte Banks. Or Cam Smith, I think would probably be their choice there, one of the 2 guys. I like Deonte Banks. I don't love him. I think he has potential. I think he has a lot of upsides. He has the size that I want. He can run, defend, he can tackle, he's physical. So there's that thing. I agree with you. The grabbiness, those kind of things don't necessarily translate sometimes, but I also think that those can be taught out, and he can be better than that.
Let me ask you a philosophical question as we
Please.
wrap up the 6 Rings and Prospect Things podcast review here of the cornerback position. I know you want confidence in your picks. If you're a GM, you're picking people, you want confidence. But do you look at, and we mention it a lot throughout this, and we will every year, the bigger corners? There's always if he's a bigger corner, if he's good, it's a jackpot, because big corners are the best you can have, because they have the versatility, they have that extra length, as you said, to maybe get beat but still get back in the play. All of that, play the run. Do they get overdrafted, or if you have 2 that are close, do you take them saying, well, the upside is more and the downside is more, because the downside is maybe I can put him at free safety. Worst case scenario, I can have him covering kicks, playing special teams at 210 pounds or whatever he is, 6'1", 210. Whereas if there's a 5'9" corner who weighs 180 pounds, he either needs to be a really good cornerback for me. Or ... I don't really know what else he is.
So I think there's a really good comparison here. I think you look at a guy like Kelee Ringo, who we talked about. You don't necessarily love him. I like him a lot. I like his size, athleticism, and ability there, and I think there's a lot of room for growth. And then you look at a guy like Travius Hodges-Tomlinson out of TCU. Like, this guy is 5'8", 178. He's small. Like, if he was 2 or 3 inches bigger, he would probably be the number 4 corner on my board. Like, the kid can play football. Like, it's that simple. He's really good. The issue for me is, though, if I'm drafting philosophically, I'm going to lean Kelee Ringo, because I think there's a higher ceiling. I think athleticism and size at cornerback in the NFL is a really, really important thing. You just don't see a lot of undersized corners have great success in the NFL, especially right now with how good wide receivers are. So I think there's a place for guys like Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, because he's a playmaker, and in today's NFL, again, if you make plays, you're going to find a job somewhere. If the ball finds you, you'll find a job, is kind of how I look at it when it comes to cornerback right now. But for me personally, from a philosophical perspective, I would lean towards the guy with better size and athleticism, just because I think that a lot of these things can be taught, and the ceiling is higher.
So is he? You seem to be in love with Hodges Tomlinson. Is he a mid-round guy you think is going to overperform his draft status because of size
Yes.
issues?
Yeah, I think he probably won't even get drafted until the I'd say probably in the somewhere in the third round. And I think he'll be really, really good. I think he's going to have, especially right out the gate. I think he's athletic. I think he understands how to play the position. He's smart, and even being 5'8", 5'7" is not afraid to be physical. I think this kid's got a lot of talent. I wish he was 2 or 3 inches taller.
Don't we all? Don't we all? That's why there's a
Yes.
song about it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Wish I
do.
was a little bit taller. So I think we're on the same page. Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon up near the top of the draft, really intriguing players, but a lot of depth at the cornerback position. Probably some starters or impact names you'll see for the next 5 years, drafted well into day 2, maybe early into day 3. A lot of fun names, a lot of shapes and sizes, a lot of it doesn't get any more intriguing than what did I say? 6'1", 166. I'm not going to get past this. Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State is the most interesting prospect at cornerback I've seen because I love him. I'm just scared to death to draft him.
I also think, too, just to throw 2 names out there, we don't have to go into them at all, but 2 names Patriots fans should keep an eye out if they are going to go corner like in the 3rd round instead of going earlier. Darius Rush out of South Carolina, Jalen Jones out of Texas A&M. Those are 2 guys that I would throw out there. SEC guys, great size, 6'2", 200 pounds, the both of them. Darius Rush runs a 4.36. I love that. And he wants to hit, which is awesome. So those are just 2 guys' names I would throw out there for Patriots fans if you're looking for a mid-round corner.
And Jalen Jones out of A&M, I would also include in that tweener safety mix. And as the Patriots look to kind of fill the void of Devin McCourty, and it's going to be multiple bodies, maybe some on the roster, some off. Maybe that's a guy they take as an eye on
a flyer
early on in your career. You're that free safety type. Will take, some advantage of your size, but you have some cornerback tendencies and some of those things. So very interesting cornerback position, very interesting prospects, and very much a position of need for your New England Patriots in April's draft. They have the 14th pick. We can all dream of Christian Gonzalez, but who knows what Bill Belichick will do. He always finds a corner, so maybe he'll decide he can find a corner late in the draft. For Chris Scheim, I am Andy Hart. That's another 6 Rings and Prospect Things podcast in the books. We will continue chugging along towards draft weekend. Next up, running backs. See you soon.
Can't wait. So you.